So it's been just under a year as of filming this that I released my first video on this channel, and in that I explained my life situation, where I was hoping to go from there, all the things I was hoping to achieve. And because we're still in the energy of New Year and reflecting and thinking about what the future holds, thinking about where we've been, where we want to go, I thought it would be nice to react to that first video, talk through how much has changed, where I'm at now, what I would like to move towards in this year, apart from anything to act as a kind of accountability meter, but also just to put it out into the universe, see what I get back from that. One thing I will say before anything is that I am planning to commit to uploading content a lot more regularly. So if you'd like to be a part of that, know when that's happening, hit the subscribe button down below and make sure the bell notification button is turned on, because that way you get an update every time I release a video. I am a little bit apprehensive, I'm not gonna lie, because I know there's a few things that I talk about in this video that are going to be a little bit, I'm going to cringe a little bit, I think. But I also think it's going to be really nice to look back on where I started from, because I was really proud of this video when I made it. Here we go.
But it's Star Wars, so I don't really care.
Your 20s, for many, are characterised as a time of discovery. A time of building to knock down. A time of climbing to fall flat on your face again. A time of exploring, cataloguing memories, experiencing life before it's high time to settle down and do the good and proper thing of starting a family. But think how many sitcoms and TV shows start with the main character, in their late 20s, early 30s, turning their back on the life they've built for themselves after realising that the person they've become was never who they wanted to be. So I'm not bashing anyone who had time in their 20s to figure out who they are. I'm just saying that maybe life starts when you choose to start living it for yourself instead of everyone else. And that doesn't really have an age limit.
I was so proud of myself when I did that. That was the first kind of artsy short film style bit of editing that I had properly done, and I think it really changed the way that I wanted to make content in the future. The reference to sitcoms comes from the fact that one of the major contributors to realising that I could restart my life and have the life that I actually wanted was the fact that I started watching Will and Grace. In the first episode, she calls off her wedding at the age of 32 and effectively starts over. And I was 29 at the time, and I was thinking about how I Met Your Mother starts when Ted is 27, Friends starts when they're all like 27 to 29, Will and Grace starts when she's 32. Like, all of these people were in the age bracket that I was, and all of their interesting, exciting life periods started when they were the same age as me. And like, I know it's TV and TV isn't necessarily real, but a lot of those series are based in some sort of real life event that is hyperbolized and expanded to create TV drama. So I was like, oh, I could actually do this, and now I have. And I didn't realise that it could be, like, life could be like that. So that was really wonderful to be able to experience. Before I start playing it again as well, I want you to understand that the outfit that I'm wearing in this clip, I was so concerned with looking gay enough, and I was so concerned about looking like a baby lesbian, and I was so concerned about being patronised. That did lead me to experiment a lot with clothing, and now apparently I dress like a Wild West prospector. But I was so concerned about, like, making sure that people didn't think I was lying. I think that's one of the many reasons why it took me so long to come out, is because I have had a history of not having great experiences with male partners that I've had. Was really worried about people invalidating how I identified, I think, deep down, and I was concerned about being labelled as somebody who was broken, and so then of course I was a lesbian because, like, men were ruined for me, kind of thing. I still don't know if that's true, but I know that I don't want to date them anymore, you know? I'm past caring about that. Right, cup of tea? Cup of tea, cup of tea. I don't have a cup of tea today, but I have some sparkling flavoured water because apparently I'm more pretentious now. Hey, so it's kind of a little bit insane to think about, but this time last year I was married to a man. We were building a future together, finding a house to buy, saving up for a house, planning to have children, talking about raising a family together, and now I am single, living alone. Oh my god. Still a little bitch who cries a lot. Anyway, I have no idea where I'm going to be in the next 2 months, let alone the next 5 years. Oh, I'm so excited for her. You have the worst and the best to look forward to, darling. Don't worry. Also, my nails look so nice there. I have not been able to find my lamp since I moved, so I haven't been able to properly do my nails. That's definitely one thing that's changed since I came out, is I definitely do not care as much about nail care as I did at that point. Which is crazy and is an insane amount of change for somebody to go through in the space of a year. But when I consider the fact that it actually happened in the space of a couple of months, it gets a little bit overwhelming. Yes. But it did feel for a little bit like my life literally became a sitcom, because everything that happened, when I tell stories now to people of the things that happened in the last couple of months, it genuinely runs like an episode of a sitcom. Yep. But up until a couple of weeks ago, my life was change after change and big event after big event, until everything kind of stopped and it all snowballed a little bit, and at the end of 2024 it kind of all exploded. And that seems a bit vague, but if I'm going to catch you up, I think I need a bit of a different vibe than this. The reason why I decided to do this next section with like a duvet and a face mask and pajamas was because the idea that I had was, because it was a very confessional, vulnerable video, I wanted it to run like it was the timeline of a sleepover, which again was the first time that I'd probably had like a concept like visually for a video, which was really exciting, and I loved it. The first part was supposed to be like when your friend comes over and you sit down and you catch up and you have a meal, and then this was supposed to be the bit where like deep, meaningful chat section of the night, doing your self-care, and you've like had a couple of glasses of wine, all that stuff. Yeah, does that make sense? I don't know if I made it clear enough, but also I feel like if I had signposted it any more than I did, it would have been like too obvious. You know what I mean? So okay, this is the part where I'm like, I think I'm gonna cringe quite a bit. Much better. So, where do I start? September 2024, I decide to leave my husband, and although I don't really know where to go with that, I start making a plan to do so. End of October, he finds out about this plan, we separate, and I go down to Cornwall for my best friend's wedding. So I end up spending the first few days of my single life with the two people who know every crevice of my soul better than anyone else on the planet. I just wanted to pause it because the irony of this is, my husband found out I was leaving him. I went down to Cornwall for my best friend's wedding. The day after I moved out of my flat and moved back in with my parents, I went down to Cornwall again to see my friend in a play, because those were the dates of events that I had to go down to, and they just happened to line up exactly as I was going through a big life change. I feel like the universe is like, every time I go through a big life decision, it's like, send her to her friends, send her back to the homeland. But it works, like it helps me reset. I wish it wasn't 6 hours away, but you know. And I'm genuinely so grateful that that's how it worked out, because I don't think I would have gotten through nearly as much of this as I have if I didn't have those two behind me in the very beginning, and that instant reminder of the whole ass woman that I am outside of my marriage. Yeah. My two best friends who still live in Cornwall, I've known them since I was 8 years old. They've known me for 2/3 of my life at this point, and I cannot bullshit with them. I cannot pretend to be anything other than what I am. It was so nice to go down and reconnect to my childhood in that way. Yeah. Beginning of November, I move into the flat that I now live in, start working my first professional credit as a costume supervisor, start talking to somebody that I really like on a dating app, and in general living my best life. December, I went on my first date with a woman in years and felt like I was seeing colours for the first time, which is slightly intimidating to admit on camera because there is a slight possibility that she might see this video. It wasn't a might see this video. I fully sent this video to her, partially because I was like, I'm talking about you in it. I want to make sure that you're okay with it, kind of thing, because we didn't know each other very well at that point. But it was a funny bit. But if she does see this video, it doesn't change what I rated you. So within that, realised that I might not be bisexual, I might just be a lesbian. Finish my theatre job, go back to my day jobs, try to stay busy with my day job because I don't want to think about all the things that are happening, but I can feel myself slipping anyway. Spent Christmas with my cousin's family because my family are away, and my husband and I were supposed to spend Christmas just the two of us, but that obviously isn't happening anymore. I didn't realise until Christmas Day, but this Christmas was actually the first Christmas in 3 years that I had spent with my family. Yeah, it was a while since I'd spent Christmas with my family, so it made it really special. But also it was so lovely to spend Christmas with my cousins. It was really strange. Christmas is quite an intimate family gathering and you have your own traditions and you have your own way of doing things, and it's rare that you get to sit in on another person's Christmas unless it's a partner. So it was kind of interesting. At times it felt like I was kind of watching somebody else have Christmas, but they made me feel so included and they made me feel so welcomed, and it was so nice to be able to spend that time with them. So I'm always very grateful for that. Stop dating a woman, but you'll be glad to know that the classic lesbian dating to friends pipeline is still in action. We're just gonna move on from that. Spend New Year with my family where my brother beats me at Disney Trivial Pursuit and I have to listen to it for the rest of the year. We played normal Trivial Pursuit this year, and who won? I think my brother beat me again this year. Like, it was neck and neck, but I think he beat me again. Yeah, I really need to up my game with this. I really need to up my game with Trivial Pursuit because I can't keep losing like this. It's setting a reputation. I get 2 speeding tickets within the space of a week. Oh, and I got a tattoo. Okay. So I did get 2 speeding tickets in the space of a week. I got one on Boxing Day, and I got one on New Year's Day. I have not had any further traffic violations. And now I'm a lot more conscious of my driving. This is a weird tangent to go on. I'm a lot more conscious of my driving. I don't drive as much, and it's one of the reasons why I'm glad that I have moved to a place with such well-connected public transport. Again, big up the B network, because it allows me to not have to drive as much. So that's helpful. Yeah, so this part of the video was supposed to represent like the morning after, where you have had time to reflect on all of the deep, meaningful conversations that you've had, and you can further discuss with a more rational, less sleep-deprived headspace. Okay, so with all that being said, where do we go from here? In previous years, I would have started by setting myself goals that I needed to accomplish within the next 12 months, try to control my year in some way, but I think you can understand that at this point, because of the unpredictability of my situation, I don't really want to do that this time. And that's not to say that I don't have goals for the year. I do have a couple of things that I've set myself as intentions, but they're not ones that I want to share publicly yet. But now I can, because I was actually successful in completing all of my goals for 2025. So let me get them up. I think the reason why I was so successful in completing the goals that I had for last year was because I didn't do the kind of do this many of this thing, this many of this thing kind of thing. The goals that I had were more a sense of emotional depth and mental stimulation. So become financially stable enough to be self-employed. Technically, I did not become financially stable enough to do this. I'm just doing it anyway. Be at least in the process of moving to Manchester. I have now moved to Manchester, and I did so just before the end of the year. Live the fullest life I ever have. I feel like I did that. Embrace all past versions of myself and let that fuel my creativity. So much of last year was about healing relationships with inner child Willow. Inner teenager Willow we're working on it. The room is going to help, well, her little corner of my brain. Especially with coming out and the amount of internalized homophobia that I had to overcome last year, which I wrote a essay about on my Substack that I will put somewhere in the corner. I feel very differently now than when I wrote that article, but yeah, I still think that there was a lot of healing that needed to be done of the versions of myself that told me I couldn't do this, because that's what she was told by other people. I think I did that successfully last year. Experience the world with as much as I am able to give it at any time. Definitely did that. Have the courage to be disliked. Yeah. Express myself without fear of inconsistency. I think that was something that I really overcame last year. Ooh, it's calling me. So she's just gonna sit in the corner now. But I can't give you cuddles the whole time, okay? That's the deal. That's the deal. Because I have ADHD, obviously I have the thing of like picking up a hobby and then dropping it within a couple of months. Like I crochet, but I've finished maybe one project in the entire time that I've known how to crochet. And I know it's such a thing with millennials, but I had such a obsession with finding something that I could like pin my identity around, and like that will be a core part of my being. And it's like every new thing that I found was like, okay, it's going to be this thing. And then when I didn't follow through with it, I would make a lot of judgments about myself, and a lot of negative self-talk would slip in. In accepting that life is naturally full of inconsistency and growth, like inconsistency is essential for growth and development, and we are never gonna stay the same person for all of time. We're always gonna shift and change and mold and fall back and move forwards, and accepting that really freed me from a lot of like internal self-doubt and self-judgment, because once I accepted that like it doesn't really matter, like who cares if I start crocheting and then give it up in a week? Who cares if I decide I'm gonna get a load of craft things and then don't end up using them? I can donate them to somebody who would use them more. I could give them to a friend. Like, who cares? Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things, you know? That really helped me and freed up a lot of brain space, I think, that I was using for critical self-talk. Next one was love my friends more. Definitely did that. And share vulnerably in the hopes of creating community. I think I was able to do that with the videos that I posted because my schedule was not what I hoped it would have been last year in terms of uploading and online community building. I don't think I was as successful with that as I could have been, but I think what I did share was successful in doing what I wanted it to. So I think I ticked off that goal. And the last one was, as Oasis once said, don't look back in anger. And I think I did that. I think I've just accepted at this point that there was no way of me getting to the place where I am without going through the things that I've been through. There was a quote that I've heard somebody use that was, maybe you choosing something is proof that it was the right choice, because you wouldn't have chosen it if you didn't need to in some aspect. And I definitely think that's the case with most of my journey so far. Sorry, the dog's like closing things. It was a very like soul fulfilling year, which I was really happy about. My camera's gonna die if I don't finish this now, so. Okay, so my camera died, I had to walk the dog, and I'm going to a ballet class in like 2 hours. So I just elected to get changed. I can't believe I'm only halfway through. Did not realise that I talked for this long at the end of this video. I thought it was like 3/3. Also, something that I am very excited about sharing is a little kind of queer pilgrimage that I'd like to go on this year, and that will involve some of the content that I want to make, because I think it would be an interesting amalgamation of sort of video essays and travel vlogs, which are two things that I really enjoy. Okay, so I do still plan to make them. Despite the fact that I didn't do a long form video on it, I did walk in Manchester Pride with a queer women and non-binary group that I am kind of a part of. I did so many things to celebrate Pride, and I made quite a few videos over the month of Pride. That was like my most successful month, was June, when I was creating stuff that was about being queer. I went to so many events. I didn't document any of it, but I did have a very like successful coming out pilgrimage through other ways. I did go on a solo trip to Lesbos as like a 30th birthday present. I didn't ask for presents for my birthday, I asked for money towards this trip. That was incredible. That was like such a highlight of the year. I will definitely be going out there again. So I definitely think that next time I go out, I will put more effort into making an actual video of it. So far on my list I have Manchester, Berlin, Lesbos, Paris, Shibden Hall and Hebden Bridge. Obviously there's a lot of places in the US, but I think given the current political climate in that country and also the amount of money it would take to get there, it's not really feasible for me right now. So that's a later down the line trip that I want to take. I also added Brighton to the list. My friend pointed out that I had forgotten to put Brighton. I forgot to put Brighton on, which seems so stupid because Brighton Pride is like world famous. I've completely forgot that I should have added it to the list. The other places I do plan to go. My mum actually went to Hebden Bridge without me last year. I told her about it. I told her about the reason why I wanted to go. And then I got a text from her one day that was like, oh, you'd love Hebden Bridge. It has all of our favourite things. And I'm like, yes, mum, of course it does. But her and my dad had taken the dog for a walk there. Without their lesbian daughter, they'd gone to the lesbian capital of the UK. Queer history and educating and sharing queer history is something that I'm really passionate about. So any book recommendations or other content creators who make that kind of stuff, I would love to have recommendations on that kind of thing. That's so you know where to put that. Also, at this point, I will recommend one queer creator who actually this video was heavily inspired by. Elena Joy does a series that's very similar to this on her channel, and she recommended other people do it. So I'm not just stealing her idea, I promise. She had a very similar journey to me in that she identified as bi, was engaged to be married to a man, never actually saw the wedding through, came out as a lesbian and ended up leaving, and now is like the happiest she's ever been. And the irony of it is she came out in like 2020, 2021, just before I was about to get married, and I remember watching that video and relating to it way too heavily, and then avoided her content for years because I couldn't sit and watch it. It was so close to my own experience, and she was then living the life that I secretly wanted to live but didn't feel like I was allowed to. So I just avoided it like the plague. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this. But Elena Joy does make a lot of really good queer content, queer education, like sex education, all that stuff. Yeah. And what I'm hoping is that that will kind of amalgamate and end with me hosting Pride Weekend for Manchester Pride with all of my chosen family. So I didn't get to do that in the way that I hoped. I didn't get to have like the weekend with all my friends over, mainly because like financial situations did not allow us to do that. Like I say, I got to walk in Manchester Pride, which is incredible and was possibly a once in a lifetime thing that I got to do. So the first Pride that I ever got to spend out as a lesbian, I got to walk in the parade. That was magical. And the other avenue that I'm going to be going down, I think, a lot this year is a sort of Willow in progress, is what I'm calling it. And by that I mean sort of really going in and dissecting which parts of me are me and which parts of me were performative for the life that I was living before this. So what movies do I like? What hobbies do I enjoy? How do I want to spend my time? Who do I want to spend my time with? All of those things I want to look inward to and make sure that when I make choices about my life, I'm making them in the truest part of me rather than in order to please the other person. I definitely think this is something that I have successfully managed to teach myself how to do. I say all of this with a sort of pinch of salt of like, life is ever changing, people are ever changing, change is essential for growth, all those things. I feel that way now, but I might not feel that way tomorrow, I might not feel that way in a week. And I think that's part of it. I think one of the things that really helped me to feel more confident in making decisions is the fact that like, I am probably going to change my mind at some point. I might change my mind, but that will come after I have educated myself, and that'll be a different time. I'm doing everything I can to do what's best for me with the extent of the knowledge that I have at this current moment, and I can't do more than that, you know? And as someone who is really in love with fashion, I am genuinely so excited to experiment with fashion outside of the realms of compulsive heterosexuality. And one of the things I'm super excited about is the prospect of going suit shopping for myself. I still haven't got myself a full suit. I feel like I'm so much freer with how I express myself through fashion now, because it's something that I've wanted for so long and I have never had the opportunity to buy myself a full suit. And I genuinely can't wait. What I think I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of room for creativity in all aspects of what I do from now on. There's a lot of room to build friendships and relationships with people. I am firmly becoming somebody who believes that you do not need a romantic relationship to be fulfilled, and the idea that I can be fully fulfilled with a friendship, so anybody who comes in offering a romantic relationship has to meet high standards in order to get through the door, is how I kind of want to operate from now on. And as I said, I just got my first tattoo. I'll try and pop some pictures or a video of it somewhere. That was life-changing in itself, but I definitely want to get more of them because it looks lonely. So one of the things that has been most eye-opening in the past few months is getting piercings and tattoos and looking at myself and for the first time being like, yeah, they were always meant to be there. Those were things were always meant to be part of who I am. I feel a stronger sense of self than I have in a really long time, and that's something that I'm really excited about. Also, I completely forgot to mention that I will be obviously doing a lot of interior decorating in my own space for the first time, and I have complete creative control over how it's decorated and how it looks, which is also really exciting. Sorry, I've just noticed in the corner you could see my little fridge magnet collection that I had. My fridge magnet collection was something that I borderline became like obsessive about last year. Everywhere I went, if I didn't have a fridge magnet to say that I went there, I would get one. It became like the souvenir equivalent of Pixar It Didn't Happen. I wanted to have visual proof of the amount of experience that I'd had in the space of a year and how full my life was by having these like things on my fridge. And I'm still doing it. I have like 2 up here that I got. I will continue doing it because it was so much fun, and by the end of it I'll put a picture up of like the amount I had just before I moved out of my flat. It caught me off guard because there are so few of them there, and by the end of it it was like half the door was covered. Basically what I'm trying to say is that the possibilities are endless and overwhelming, so this is going to be fun whatever happens. I feel like the possibilities a year later are still endless and overwhelming, especially in the situation that I'm in now. But I feel like last year was so much of a sense of building foundations, and this year is about building on top of them. And I'm less terrified because I built those foundations last year, and I'm really grateful that I had the time to do that.
So that's where I'm starting from. Not quite a clean slate, maybe more of an old notebook that you find when you're deep cleaning your childhood bedroom, filled with forgotten dreams and half-written stories that unlock a host of memories that had fallen through the cracks. I can't promise a regular schedule, I can't promise a consistent aesthetic, but I can promise to always show up with authenticity, a sprinkle of chaos, and old-fashioned hospitality without the discrimination. If that seems like your kind of thing, You are more than welcome to stick around for the ride.
That was really nice. Also, I love this picture of me. My dad is a semi-amateur photographer. We'll do like photo shoots together and then I'll use them as assets for stuff like my end screen and things. So that was my first video. How far we've come. I think I know myself so much better than I did last year. Hopefully that's coming across. In so many ways I feel so similar to her. I'm the same but different. Excitement of what's to come and all the new things I get to experience this year. I'm going to do a master's degree this year and I found out that I got in on New Year's Day. Like before I'd even woken up, I had an email to say they had given me a place. So the year literally started off with something that I had tried and failed at last year coming to fruition. There's so much that I want to achieve this year. Because of how much I achieved last year, I feel more confident in setting myself up to achieve more this year. And if it goes badly, it goes badly, but I'm not afraid to try. I can't fail worse than I already have. That is kind of freeing, because this time last year I felt excited, but in many ways I was at the lowest point I've ever been in my life. And I got myself out of that, so I can do it again. And I think I will do this again next year and see where I'm at. If you want to stick around and see anything that I make in the future, subscribe, hit the bell notification, that way you get to see anything that I post. Questions, queries or concerns, please put them in the comments. And yeah, that's everything. Bye. Oh, Jesus, I hope that works out.